Happy Monday, everyone. I hope you're having a great week. Today, I'm going to attempt to give you a bit of a tour of my studio. I'm not the steadiest camera person, and I've got a lot to show you today, so bear with me. I hope I don't make you seasick, but I will do my best. Let's just get right down to it. First of all, let's look at my paint table here. There's my palette, my paint palette. It is a glass palette, and for many years I used a disposable paper palette, which works just fine. The reason I switched to the glass palette is because there's less waste and it's easier to clean. But if you're going to be working on location or painting on plein air, it's best to use a portable one for sure, lightweight. This glass palette stays in my studio at all times. I use a scraper to scrape off, and I've got this wooden box with plastic, which will keep the oil paints good for quite some time. After a few days, I do get a bit of a scab over the top of the oil paints, and you can just lift that with your palette knife and carry on painting. Rarely do I throw paint out. And I've got a lovely paintbrush holder right there out of a wood piece of block with just a few holes drilled into it. That keeps my brushes upright while they are wet, and they can be purchased at art supply stores. I know Funk House Craft Supply in Kimberley has got some really nice little brush holders. Then for me, I just keep my paints right there. Normally I keep them all in color-coded warms and cools, but they're a bit disorganized right at the moment. That's all okay, but some of my students have been using pegboard to hang their paint tubes with a clip on pegboard, and apparently that works very well. And then I have my easel right here. This is a wooden easel, which I'm sure most of you have seen in a lot of my tips. These are on wheels, as is my paint table. Not sure if you can make much of that out right there. But there's my painting. It goes up and down. It's very adjustable. For many years, I also used a portable easel, which works great all the way up to a 24 by 36. These wooden easels work well for the bigger paintings. I've got a clip-on paper towel roll, which is very important. Easy access, nice and convenient. The wheels on the easel definitely are a bonus. I'm going to slowly go up here and show you my OttLite. It's very important that you have good lighting. This is called an OttLite, OTTLITE. Very important that you have good lighting. You don't want to have any fluorescent lighting because it'll make your colors too cool, or your regular light bulbs will make them too yellow. So this is as close to natural light as you can get, and it clips onto my easel. You can also get standing alone ones that'll just stand next to your easel. Very good quality lights. And you do not want to put your easel in front of a window, because it will backlight your canvas, and that will also alter your colors. So remember to keep your light source either on the left or the right. Your paint table will go on the side of your dominant hand. So I'm right-handed. My paint table is on the right-hand side of my easel. You want to be able to have very good posture while you're working. You don't want to be bent or tilted. I do recommend that if you are able to, you should stand at your easel and paint from a standing position, because your brush strokes will be much better. You'll be able to get your arm fully engaged and do broader strokes and more definite strokes rather than if you're sitting. If you can't stand for long periods, obviously sitting is a better position. You don't want to be uncomfortable. I'm going to also show you down in this corner over here. I don't know if you have a great view of it. That is my air purifier. Now, when I only basically use that when I am working on big, large canvases, because I do not use any mediums or turpentine. I have very little odor in my studio. Oil paints are toxic. You need to handle them with care. It's very, very important that you don't get too much on your hands. If you do, go and wash them right away. Don't chew on the end of your brush because that can be toxic as well. But the odor in my studio is generally only gets overwhelming if I'm working on a large canvas. Or if I've got multiple students in here, I will turn it on. So keep that in mind. You need good ventilation. Otherwise, keep windows open in the summer or use the air purifier. All very good. And I also want to talk about the space itself. You don't want to have a cluttered space generally because you do not want to be distracted. You want to be focused 100% on your canvas and in your painting with as few distractions as possible. Several years ago, I rented an art studio downtown in Inglewood in Calgary when I was living in Calgary, and it was a really amazing experience, and I'm glad to have done it. Many artists believe that in order to be a professional, you need to have a professional studio, and it shouldn't be in your home. Well, I do believe that that is a good idea for some people. For me, it did not work out so well because I am the type of painter who likes to work on a canvas, then walk away, go have dinner, then come back with my cup of tea and work a little bit more, and then get into my pajamas at the end of the day, and then I can come back in and look at my painting when it's kind of dark. And that's the way I like to work. And when I found that when I rented my studio in Inglewood, I was not able to do that. I'd have to be at work for a specific amount of time, close the door, and then go home. So that was not for me. It's a personal preference, and I can see why that works for a lot of artists. So for me, I do not get very distracted by things in my house. I like to be working from home. And I think many of you have also seen my book collection, and I don't think I can get to. I've got a nice book collection. I've got a very good book collection. All my art books are over there. You've seen them before. Don't want to give you I hope I'm not too jiggly today. It's a little hard doing it this way, but I wanted to give you a good sense of how I work, where I work, right here in this very spot. I like my art books at hand. They come in handy. I pull them out if I'm stuck on a specific color or need an idea how to paint a sky. I can have easy access to my books. Or if there's something that really inspires me, I will pull out a painting and leave it open next to my easel. It's a great reference to have art books at your disposal. So get a good collection going. I highly recommend your art book collection. What am I missing? Oh yes, in a previous 10-Minute Mondays, I discussed the importance of picking out the proper type of paintbrush. And I've also done one on picking out your proper canvas. So please do refer back to some of my previous 10-Minute Mondays for information on your supplies, your types of paints, etc. Those are all important. Today, I just wanted to talk about the layout of your studio, your good lighting, your ventilation, and where you want to place things. Just keep it simple. You don't want a lot of clutter in your studio. I know some famous painters thrived on clutter. They did their best work when they are cluttered. Studio, it was a mess, but that's not my way. If it's your way, let me know. Drop me a note and tell me what gives you your best creativity. Just let me know. I'm really interested in hearing what your studio is like. If you are feeling like it, I would love to see some photos of your studio. Would you share with us or with me? I would love to see that. Okay, I am going to sign off for now. I hope you enjoyed this mini studio tour, and I hope I wasn't too shaky. Okay, bye for now. Send me a note on what you would like me to talk about next week on my 10-Minute Mondays. Have a good one until then. Okay, bye.